As we get older, it's natural to start noticing little changes. Maybe we're not as quick on our feet as we used to be, or we don't have the same energy we once did. And sometimes those changes can leave us wondering, is this just part of aging, or is it something more? If you've ever had that thought, you're not alone. Many seniors start noticing subtle shifts in their health or behavior long before anything serious happens. And while none of us like to think about the inevitable, understanding these signs can actually be a gift because it gives us time to prepare, to cherish the moments we have, and to make sure we're as comfortable as possible. So today we're going to talk about 5 signs that often appear about a year before someone passes away. Now I want to be clear, this isn't about fear or sadness, it's about awareness, about being able to recognize these changes in ourselves or our loved ones so we can respond with kindness and care. The first sign is something many people notice but don't always connect to the bigger picture, a loss of interest in favorite activities. Have you ever known someone who loved gardening, reading, or playing cards, only to slowly stop doing those things? It's not just about being tired, it's a deeper shift. The things that once brought joy no longer seem to matter as much. This happens because the body and mind start conserving energy, focusing inward rather than on the outside world. Now, this doesn't mean every time someone skips a hobby, it's a sign of something serious. But when it's a lasting change, when a person who never missed their weekly bridge game suddenly doesn't care anymore, it's worth paying attention. The second sign is withdrawal from social connections. Humans are social creatures, and for most of our lives, we thrive on being around others. But as the body begins to slow down, many people start pulling away, not because they don't love their family and friends, but because socializing takes energy they no longer have. You might notice a loved one talking less, avoiding gatherings, or even seeming distant in conversations. This can be especially hard for family members to understand. We might think, are they upset with me? But often it's simply part of the natural process. The person isn't choosing to withdraw, their body is guiding them toward quiet and rest. Now these first 2 signs, losing interest in hobbies and withdrawing from others, can be subtle. They don't mean the end is near right away, but they're gentle whispers from the body, telling us that energy is shifting, and recognizing them early can help us provide better support, whether it's for ourselves or someone we love. In the next part, we'll talk about 3 more signs that often appear around this time, changes that can help us understand what's happening and respond with compassion. Because when we know what to look for, we can make every moment count. When we notice those first signs, the loss of interest in hobbies, the quiet withdrawal from social connections, it can leave us with so many questions. Is this just a passing phase? Should we be concerned? And most importantly, how can we help? That's why it's so important to recognize the next few signs because they often come hand in hand with those early changes. And understanding them can bring clarity, not to alarm us, but to help us navigate this time with wisdom and grace. The third sign is a noticeable decline in physical energy. Now we all slow down as we age. That's perfectly normal. But when someone starts struggling with tasks that used to be simple, getting dressed, walking to the mailbox, even sitting up for long periods, it's often more than just aging. The body begins conserving energy for the most essential functions, and everyday activities become exhausting. You might notice a loved one spending more time in bed or needing frequent naps. They might skip meals not because they're not hungry, but because eating feels like too much effort. This isn't laziness. It's the body's way of prioritizing what little energy it has left. Now, the fourth sign is one that families often find the most confusing: changes in eating habits. Appetites fade, favorite foods lose their appeal, and sometimes a person might go days barely eating at all. This can be especially worrying for loved ones. After all, we're taught that food is life, that eating means strength. But in the final stages, the body simply doesn't need as much fuel. You might see someone pushing their plate away after just a few bites, or saying they're just not hungry even for meals they once loved. And while it's natural to want to encourage them to eat, forcing food can actually cause discomfort. At this stage, it's about offering small, gentle nourishment, maybe a spoonful of soup, a sip of tea, or even just holding their hand while they rest. The fifth sign is one that many people don't talk about, but it's incredibly common: increased sleep, or a shift in sleep patterns. Someone who was always an early riser might start sleeping late into the day, or they might drift in and out of sleep at odd hours, as if the line between waking and dreaming starts to blur. This happens because the metabolism slows and the body spends more time in a restful state. Some people even begin sleeping most of the day, only waking for short periods. And while it might seem concerning, this extra sleep is often peaceful for them, a natural way of conserving energy. Now, these three signs, declining physical energy, changes in eating, and increased sleep, often appear alongside the first two we discussed. And when you start seeing them together, it's a sign that the body is transitioning. But here's the important thing. This isn't something to fear. It's a process, one that every living thing goes through in its own way. In the next part, we'll talk about how to respond to these signs, not with worry, but with love, presence, and the kind of care that truly makes a difference in these precious moments. Because when we understand what's happening, we can offer the greatest gift of all, our full, compassionate attention.